but because they use it as a form of birth control.
Well, it's because the birth control that they were using failed, typically.
So now they use this other form of birth control.
Yes. And, it's this idea of it as like comparable to the pill or to a condom is...
well, it's comparable only in the way that it's being used as a form of birth control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's preventing a birth.
Well, hello, my starchy companions. It's me again, your friendly neighborhood potato, of course. And this is Life Through a Potato's Eye. And this is an upload because my live didn't save, so you get some new content, I guess. For the followers that have been watching my lives, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy. For those that you are seeing me for the first time, welcome to my channel. We have lots and lots of eyes, and we like watching all the interesting things that humans do up top. And as always, the degeneracy is overwhelming. Today, I'm going to be covering a little bit of the Whatever podcast again, and Andrew Wilson is debating a female that goes by Charlie. He calls her Chuck at some point in time. So we'll be discussing that debate today. And if you already know the debate, I apologize that we're going to be reiterating it, but she deserves more press as much as we can get her. Let me start off with my motivational quote before I forget, because I have been forgetting that and I am tired of forgetting the motivation. A path without struggle is like a field without some stones. It's rare and usually not even real. That is a potato original, of course. And if you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made of. And that is, of course, Bruce Lee. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our clip.
However, I hold the view, and I want you to trust in me in the sense that you don't think that I would be very cool with like murdering babies. So when I say I
because
think
your view, it's not a baby.
It's not a baby. It's not
I understand.
Sentient yet.
Yeah. You don't consider that to be human life. Well, you consider scientifically. You consider it scientifically to be human life, but you don't consider life to begin until there's some sort of cognitive sentience or something like this, right?
Yeah, something to that degree. I think it was it St. Augustine?
So the thing is almost every single actual scientist that will agree on what time life happens is at conception. As soon as the sperm meets the egg, it is life. Regardless of what kind of life, almost anybody can agree that a cell is living. To be able to replicate, it is living. So it is a life. And if that life is human, in essence, in any way, shape, or form, and we'll get into that, but it is human life. Thus meaning it deserves a chance. And we'll get into that maybe a little bit later too.
That said, when it starts to kick, that's when it's a person, something like that. I think that abortion and birth control, because women are, very much encumbered by our physical forms, our biological capacity to have children, I think that the only way we can have equality is to have access to birth control and abortion, so that we can participate.
You do have access to birth control. And we won't even get into what you have access to further than that. But in order to avoid that in general, we can just stay abstinent. Imagine that. It's not breathing, guys. You don't have to have it. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
In the economy the same way men can. So when men vote against women's interests and can force us to carry children and destroy our
No one is forcing you unless it's involuntary, and that is illegal. So regardless of what happens there, we can get into that in a different debate. But we're not talking about majority of unavoidable pregnancies.
Our avenue to freedom, financial freedom, financial independence. It strikes me the same way as
I find it funny that she says financial independence as one of her talking points, because isn't that what men should have access to if women have the access to abortion?
Draft does to you. I feel like that's...
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
Here's something interesting, though. Let's just start with this, because I think we should get our terms correct here.
Okay.
When you say force, right, nobody actually forces you to have a child, even if you can't abort it. Exactly. Isn't that actually the case? Nobody's actually forcing you to do that. The case is that you're using what's called an ambiguous equivocation, which is a fallacious form of argumentation. The equivocation is that you would have us believe, through the nebulousness of the language of the term force, that somebody is using some type of physical compellence to make you do a thing, when in fact the truth is that they're not doing that at all. You're just simply not allowed to do a thing. That's different than forcing you to do a thing. Yeah.
There's no force when it comes to the act of getting that pregnancy. Trying to be careful with how I word things, just to make sure I'm not saying anything wrong. But you have every choice to not do the action to begin with. If you don't do the action, you're not forced into the action, thus meaning you can't be forced into carrying it. You chose to carry it.
I mean,
so like,
a law that says I cannot drive in the left lane, or I cannot drive, I don't know, I can't go 100 miles per hour on the highway.
Yeah.
Yes, I can technically do it, but there will be consequences. Most likely me probably dying in a horrible accident.
Yeah, so is a red light, do you think that a red light is force?
No, but there's consequences.
But it's not force. And that's the same thing here. You have a law, but it's not. There's no force that's being used.
Technically, no one's forcing you to go to war. You could choose prison.
No, that's different. If you go to prison for not doing it, that's forcing you to do it. If it gets illegalized, then it would be possibility of going to prison. But I don't even know if that's the case or not.
What is it? What is the term for abandoning?
Desertion.
Desertion. Yeah, you could desert. Like you aren't technically being forced to do so. You could take the penalty for not signing up for the draft. You could refuse the draft.
The penalty for draft dodging can be you get shot.
But it doesn't matter either way. If there is a penalty, that's what's being forced. If you're choosing to get pregnant, that is not force. Yes, you have to then carry it forth, but that's accountability, and accountability needs to come back.
That's a little bit different than...
Is that the case?
That's the case, yeah.
Because there were a lot of people that dodged the draft.
And they were given immunity, basically, from the government. They pardoned them, but... It's not just imprisonment. If you do desertion, for instance, you can be shot, and they shot people for desertion all the time.
If you were in active zone, and you tried to desert, so yeah, that is an option. That is force. You have to go and you have to do your due diligence to make sure that your country has a fighting chance.
People were shot for deserting their post.
Well, you're still not being forced to do it.
My search here just on this topic in the USA.
What? All right. So let's define force. What is she considered being forced to do it? Because if it's not being held at gunpoint, which would essentially be what Andrew is saying that they are, if that's not being forced, isn't that the old saying? I'm not holding you at gunpoint. You're not being forced to do it. So what is her term for force? How does she think? Do they have to direct their arms? Is that what force is? Because if that's the case, then is she expecting them to like interact with her as she goes to prison because she had a abortion? I don't understand the terminology that she's getting at here for force.
Desertion is a serious offense, and the penalty for desertion during a time of war can be death, though other punishments like imprisonment are possible.
Okay, what about draft dodging? And what happens if you refuse to sign up for the draft? You can't vote? Is that essentially?
You can't vote. You can't buy a gun. There's other penalties associated with it too.
So if you dodge the draft, there's a lot of force involved with this. Yeah, I don't know exactly what would be the case. Obviously, it's not reality yet. But if we do hopefully get abortions illegalized, I don't know what the penalty will be, obviously. And there may be up to, but not including, and this, that, and the other, like I'm sure that there is with desertion. But when it comes to your country is going to fail, your women are going to be brutalized, you have to go do it. Or you don't survive it because they're not going to survive it. That's only fair. But to say, I can't have a Martian and I have to go to that, no. You're literally taking a life, like I just discussed earlier. Almost all scientists agree that life begins at conception, whether it be a single cell that replicates into multiple, or a full-blown child as soon as that egg hatches. It doesn't change the fact that it is life. And if it's life, it's human life associated with it.
Which have to do with tax filing.
You're not being forced to do it. There will be severe consequences. But you technically don't have to sign up for the draft. No one's forcing you to. No one's holding a gun to your head and saying, you must sign it.
Do you want the penalties for draft dodging?
Yes.
It can include federal felonies like fines up to $250,000 and or up to 5 years in prison for failing to register. Other consequences like state-level restrictions on things like college eligibility or driver's licenses can occur. And I believe there's some preclusion from receiving federal student loans and preclusion also from certain federal jobs.
Yeah, so I understand the argument you're making. The argument for equivalency here is, wait a second, nobody's forcing you to do this, to go off to war or something like this, right? I guess my argument there would be pretty easy, which is that this is outside of your control. Drafting is outside of your control.
Yeah.
Having a child is not outside of your control for almost any woman who's ever been pregnant. They're almost always pregnant, and that's within their control.
Yes.
And so I don't think that men, given the punitive punishment of years in prison for felonies or potentially being shot for desertion, even if they do go, or having the penalty raised for draft avoidance if we needed men, which would probably be, again, you'd probably get shot. I don't think that these are equivalent statements because, one, you are being voted and force is to be used in order to.
Well, besides the fact that she agrees that the women are not being forced into being pregnant. If you're not forced into the action of the repercussions, it's like saying that I am going to go to jail because I shoplifted because Joe Schmo forced me to do it. What did he do? Talk me into it? He hold a gun to my head? What's her definition of force? Because again, saying that so-and-so forced you to have to carry through with your accountability is saying, I can't go to prison because I can't be held accountable for my actions. Again, how does that make sense?
Compel you to do these things. Nobody's compelling you to get pregnant. Nobody ever forces you to get pregnant. Unless it's SA, right? But the thing is it does.
That's not the majority of the cases that we're talking about. It doesn't change the fact that we're not debating every single case. We're debating the majority of cases. The outliers are always going to be just that.
But it's not, it doesn't account for the majority of cases, the overwhelming majority of cases. And if it were the case that you argued to me, but in the case that I am forced, right? What about then? I think that you would be able to negotiate that out with the other side. I think they would be willing to say, in cases of SA, of things where force and compellence was used, they have said many times that they would be willing to negotiate that out if it stopped all other abortions.
Right.
But the left, so that's not really your argument, because you want women to have that regardless.
Well, the issue with that is that getting someone charged with SA, I'm sure you would agree, is a tedious and can be a very long process. So how would that work? If, let's say, I was SA'd and I became pregnant and I showed up to Planned Parenthood in a state where, well, I guess they're closing the Planned Parenthoods, and I said, I need an abortion, I was SA'd, and they go, okay, we need the paperwork to prove that you were SA'd. I could potentially be looking at months, maybe even years, of trying to prove that I was, SA'd, and in the meantime, I would be pregnant, and then I would reach a point where an abortion would not make any sense.
Well, let's even assume that you were able to negotiate this out in such a way where if you just made the claim that you were SA'd and named whoever the victimizer was, and you were in the process of that, then you could still get the schmishmortion. But if it was determined that you were lying or made it up, then there was some sort of criminal penalty towards you.
But what happens, do you think that every time a charge is dismissed, that means that the accused is innocent?
No.
Because I think a lot of the time people who do things
by
like
that same argument, then I have reason to doubt the SA standards, because do you think that if a person is convicted, that that means that they're guilty?
No.
Well, then if that's the case, then we have, so all we can do then is go off of data, unless it's questionable data.
So why is she even bringing that up? A lot of this debate is my feelings, my preferences. I mean, that's what it seems to be the typical argument from the majority of left. But if you're going to concede on the exact same in turn, why even bring up that as a talking point? Because again, that's the outlier, not the majority.
Right? What else can we do? Because the idea here of you just saying, well, they may be innocent. It's like, okay, well, then that person who was convicted of SA may be not guilty, right? He may be innocent, and the person who's innocent may actually be guilty. It's hard to say. But in this case, if you went and you filed this, right? Let's just say somehow we got it to where you could actually move through the system very quickly in order to get this abortion if it was proven that it was due specifically to rape, right? Great, got that. But that's not really what you want, right? You want unfettered access to abortion by every woman, don't you?
Yeah.
So it has, so any of these.
Yeah, of course. So again, fighting against herself because she just admitted that majority of cases are not forced. So the majority choose to be in the position they are, thus meaning they are not forced into that position. The going forward would be the accountability, not forcing you to do something. You're just having to take accountability. I guess that's forcing the accountability, but accountability needs to come back. Just plain and simple. Accountability needs to come back.
Arguments, the micro nuanced arguments, which are around rape and incest, don't really matter that much, because ultimately that
I do have a lot of concerns about that being, the process of having to prove this to get that exemption. I do genuinely, not out of self-interest, but out of, fear for other women and girls.
Yeah, but assuming that was a possibility that we could expedite such a process quickly,
yeah,
right?
I would still want to be
so then who cares? Where you're arguing over something that's almost inconsequential in comparison to the overwhelming amount of abortions which are done, and they're done as a form of birth control.
I mean, they're not frequently done.
Yeah, they're frequently done. They're not rare.
No, they're not rare.
And they were always, we were promised they were going to be rare.
No, they're not rare, but they're not done very often. Do you know what rare is? Do you know what often is? Because if it's not often, it's rare. If it's not rare, guess what?
But they're not rare.
Once in a lifetime occurrence. Actually, Brian, could you Google
Sure.
What percentage of women have an abortion in their lifetimes? Because again, it is a form of birth
I think it's
control.
over 40% of women have one.
Yeah, but are they having abortions every year, or are they having one?
I have it. According to that doesn't matter. An estimated 24.7% of women in the United States will have by the time they are 45.
Okay.
And that translates to approximately 1 in 4 women.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not
it's-
quite as high as I thought.
Yeah.
But 1 in 4 is still high.
But it's I don't think that most people get repeat. It's usually the cases of that, I think, are fairly rare.
Okay, so real quick, just a Google search. While many women have smortions, a significant portion of these procedures are repeat smortions, with estimates suggesting around 40 to 50% of the smortions are repeat. They've had at least one previous. Going further into the Pew Research group, it states that 57% of women having smortions that year were first time, but 24% were having their second, 11% were having their third, 8% were having their fourth or more. Equals out to about 43% being repeat. So yes, almost 50%. That's a lot more than rare. That is more like birth control being used.
Brian, I don't know if you
Why?
can fact check.
But why does like frequency here matter?
Well,
It's still being used as a form of birth control. That's the truth.
About a birth,
If we want to talk frequency, there you go. Because that is pretty egregious. Yeah, this needs to go away, guys. We need to stop that.
birth control, and we're thinking about, like birth control is typically something you have to use every time you engage in intercourse, or it is some sort of hormonal thing that you are, using all the time. What I'm saying is that abortion, it's this idea of it as like comparable to the pill or to a condom is.
Well, it's comparable only in the way that it's being used as a form of birth control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's preventing a birth.
You're the one who's labeling it as birth control, not Andrew.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's comparable to birth control because that's what birth control is doing, preventing a birth.
Yes, but it's a painful, traumatic process that most people do not want to undergo.
Yeah. So why would we be okay with it being a thing that we are encouraging, quote unquote, a thing that is acceptable in any term when it comes to it? Because again, it looks like they're repeat.
like a last resort,
But
It happens.
yeah, and as a form of birth control. So that's in the most common forms of are.
Sure. Yeah, that's okay. If the other ones don't work, then just use it. And how long is it going to be until it's, well, just use it rather than use the other options because it's a form? Might as well utilize it. No, thank you.
Are forms of birth control. So the thing is like almost all women have, not because they're essayed or because of or their life is at risk, but because they use it as a form of birth control.
Well, it's because the birth control that they were using failed, typically.
So now they use this other form of birth control.
Yes.
Debate done. Do you not see the cognitive distance here, lady? Lady. We'll get into that, I guess.
I think we're saying the exact same thing here.
Sure,
I don't feel like we're even speaking past each other. So the thing is like, that to me that's fucking insane, first of all. Like, why would you even want to advocate for a society in which female hormonal birth control is even a thing anyway? It fucks women up. Like, it fucks them all up.
Yeah, hormonal birth control, even in itself, we need to just go back to morals and ethics. The restraint that we needs to come through morals, ethics, understanding of what's best for the community, what's best for the longevity of the prosperity of our nation, of the people in general. Doesn't matter if you're inside of the United States or outside of the United States. This has got to stop, guys. We have got to start railing against this.
I mean,
It makes them all mental and fucking crazy and fucking retarded, all kinds of shit.
I mean, it really depends on the woman. I do think that hormonal birth control, by and large, horrible. But there are women who, when I was...
Here we go again with the outliers. Now, I'm not disagreeing. There are those outliers that may benefit from hormonal birth control. If they're benefiting from hormonals, then maybe there's a better way to do it than giving them the freedom to have whatever they want to have as far as the intimacy goes. We need to start having ethics and morals again. Accountability needs to come back. Here again, mashing it into it.
Maybe we can find common ground here. Hang on. Maybe we can do it this way. You want women to not have to have unwanted births.
Yes.
That's what you're after, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think every child...
I have the perfect solution, guys. It's fail safe. You want to hear it? Here it goes. So you take a dime and you stick it between your knees and you hold it there for as long as you can. That'll make sure you don't get pregnant.
propose that if you take away birth control, hormonal birth control, and you take away condoms, that women will actually have less unwanted children because they'll have less sex.
The accountability will have to come back. Imagine that.
Because that equals pregnancy. And my proof for this is that we can go back to a time not that long ago before we had hormonal birth control and condoms, and there was way less unwanted babies being born.
Bingo. Back in the day when you couldn't just go down the road and have one willy-nilly, there were less because women took the accountability. It was still available. You just would have to take different accountability if you went and did it. Now you don't have any accountability. Accountability needs to come back. Man, that word keeps popping its head out.
Born than there are right now when we have all those things.
That was also, I think society expected you to have a child. However, I will concede. So,
society expected you to have a kid. Sure, but that is the outlier because the majority of people want to have kids. Still to this day. It's just a biological want for a lot of people. So this idea that society had to have it doesn't refute the argument.
I did a debate, I think last month, about
That's funny that debateuniversity.com pops up just as she's saying that she did a debate. Man, she should have taken his course. And if you haven't checked out debateuniversity.com, I'll go ahead and plug him in for it too, because I've taken the course and I will recommend it. If you're just starting out in debate, it is a very good starting course on debate. I recommend it. Please go check it out. It costs a little bit, but everything that is knowledge base is going to cost. Check it out, guys.
Abortion laws meaningfully decrease. And what I saw from the data is that after, abortion restrictions are in place, there is a
Be careful with the data, guys, because here it comes.
small spike in births, but then it starts to decline at the same
rapidly.
rate. And then, in the surrounding states, abortion go up. So
Imagine
It does work.
I guess it does work, but
You just defeated your own argument because they ran to the different states that it was legal. If it wasn't legal in those states either, what would the case have been? More than likely, it would have dropped, plummeted, because they wouldn't want the accountability. The men probably wouldn't want to have the accountability either, having child support. There's a lot of men out there, I'm sure, that are okay with the abortions and not having to take the accountability that they would have to in turn. Both need to come back.
I mean, that sucks.
Because you want to.
Well, I mean, okay, you're a married man.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing.
Presumably you don't want, 10 baby Wilsons running around. That's a lot of mouths to feed. Oh, sorry. Presumably you married couples don't want to be at risk for having children all the time.
So we allow abortions? Are you serious right now? Use other birth controls. And if you get, then take the accountability. There are many people waiting to adopt a newborn. Not as much the grown ones, because they have some back history. They have some things that you have to break them of. Whatever the case is, that people don't want to adopt the older ones. They're the ones that are sitting on the waiting list. It's opposite for newborns. People are waiting to adopt newborns. If a married couple has a pregnancy they don't want to have, adoption. There is no need to take a life that you have brought into this world. Please. There's no reason for it.
Especially as a woman grows older and the risk to her body becomes more extreme, where she could miscarry or...
In age, at that point in time, for one, we need to start getting back to younger moms, not teenage moms, not the crap, but we need to get back to the idea that in our prime, we want to have the kids so that we have the energy to be able to take care of them fully. And then when they're out of the house is when we want to relax. Not try to live your life and then have kids when you're too old, you're too tired, your body has taken its toll, and it can't handle the kids. At my age, I am scared to have kids, but I'm still trying to bring that next generation into the world. We need that next generation. We are not at replacement rate.
Die in the attempt, right? Like, wouldn't we want birth control to be accessible?
I mean, there's other alternatives, right?
Guess the pull-out method could work.
No, there's other alternatives to that too. Like women, if they've had 4 kids, they often have their tube tied, right?
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
That's pretty common.
Again, we're getting up into the age, so if they're not going to be looking at kids down the road, there's permanent sterilization processes that can be done for both men and women. I don't necessarily agree with it until that older age. But we need to get back to the idea that we have the children that we want to have in our prime so that they're out of the way and able to live their full lives as well as us.
Because their health is at risk at that point.
Yeah.
Or there could be a
The father could
possibility.
get the vasectomy.
Yeah, I've had 7 children. They have a vasectomy. Though it's frowned on in religious practices, right? The tube.
Really?
Yeah, of course. But the tube's being tied, though. That's not, right? That's for the health and the welfare of the mother. So it's like there's other alternatives if you want to stop having children after you've had them.
interesting. She's never heard of these alternatives because God forbid they do any kind of research on what you can do to avoid being a harlot, being a strumpet. And then she gets into calling other people promiscuous. We'll get into that on a later date, but we'll go ahead and get it back into it for now.
But the most common way in which we could probably reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies is to stop f***ing each other.
Oh, well, and then the amount of children. Well, I mean, sure.
What were you going to say? The amount of children that are smorted? Smorted would go down. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it would. And the birth rate would probably actually go up.
Why not? But I also think that there will be more STIs spreading.
There'll be
which
less.
Is not good.
How could there be less or more STIs if there's less sex?
Because the people who are having sex are having unprotected sex
amongst themselves. It's not going to grow the population of people that are willing to have willy-nilly just because smortions are now illegal. I'm getting a headache, guys.
And it would most likely
be... Yeah, but there's going to be less people having unprotected sex because they don't want kids. That's the whole point.
So gay men cannot get pregnant.
Ugh. Really? You're going to go to that demographic? Because they're the only ones out there that are going to be impacted by this. They're not even going to be impacted by it. So why even bring up that demographic? That's disgusting. That needs to stop in and of itself. They're not going back and forth. If they're bi, then they will have the constituencies that go with pregnancy. They will have to have the wherewithal, the restraint to not get someone pregnant. And if they're not going back and forth, they don't even matter.
And
yeah, but gay men...
That's my concern.
Gay men rarely use any of that stuff anyway, or if they do, because of the nature of what it is that they do, their STI rates are like 5 times... No, I think they're higher than that. Can you look up, in comparison to the normal population, how high it is, gay STIs? They're like... It's an astronomical difference.
Well, I mean, if you combine the male libido with no risk of pregnancy in both parties, men typically have much higher libidos.
But if you combine...
That's what happens.
But this is the problem here.
Crazy with each other.
With promiscuity and sex and this type of thing, it's the same exact thing. You combine man-woman now with no risk of pregnancy, and you end up with a promiscuous society. Our STIs are higher than they've ever been in history.
Do you think promiscuity is bad?
Yeah, of course. It's terrible. Terrible idea. It's like...
Isn't that what we're basically debating? How is that even a question? Yes, promiscuity is bad. The idea that you can just flit around and lose the ability to pair bond, lose the attraction, lose your self-respect. Promiscuity is bad. We need to get back to accountability and loyalty.
It's just a terrible idea for the promotion of society. I mean, just not even just STIs, which are just at an all-time high again. They're like...
Are they really?
I think...
Isn't this girl college educated? I'm not. And I knew that. Oh, man. That's not even common sense. That's literally everyday thing.
I think they're higher than they've ever been. Again, we can look that up, but they're extremely high.
I do have the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, do you want to... I do have the statistic really quick. A 2018 study found a 35% STI positivity rate among gay and bisexual cisgender men compared to 15% for heterosexual cisgender men.
Yeah. That
way
makes
higher.
sense. Yeah,
way
yeah.
higher.
And of course, like I said, it's because no risk of baby, 2 men with very, very, very high
And then can you
libidos,
check
there's
on
gonna
the
be a-
if the STI rates on the general population have been
Can we make
steadily
sure it's
increasing?
by age, though? Because I do know that there's like STI booms in elderly homes, like senior citizen
That's because they're
homes.
being sexually assaulted.
It's mostly because they're having sex with each other.
No,
I have two.
because of elder. I'm telling you.
I mean, elder
That's
abuse.
bad.
So let's take a look at some CDC statistics. So just kind of browsing down here, we have total syphilis in 5 years from 2020 to 2024, a increase of 38.4% per capita. Congenital is 82.7% increase. And look at this. Holy cow. Primary and secondary syphilis, we've got men going down by 14.1%. Let me zoom in that for you so you can see. Down. Primary and secondary syphilis is going down in men. Going up by 46.8%. Early non-primary, non-secondary syphilis, we've got a decrease in men, an increase by 74.5% in women. My goodness. Chlamydia, we do have an increase in men and a decrease in women. 10% of decrease in women. That's a good sign. So the STI rates don't look good in the last 5 years. There's some down, but there's a lot of up here. Interesting. Back to it.
Super duper real.
Yeah.
Super duper real, but
2 data points here for you, really quick on the first one from before. The syphilis rate for gay and bi men was 309 cases per 100,000, while for heterosexual men, it was just 2.9 per 100,000. Much higher rate. And then the general STI rate over time, it says overall in the U.S., the STI rates have seen a substantial increase over the past decade. If you want, I can find you going back further.
Well, they've been increasing because people have a lot more promiscuous sex with multiple partners.
But
and
my generation is having, like, I don't know if you've seen that stat. My generation is having less sex than older generations, correct? Gen Z
not
is
the women.
like less.
Not the women.
Do you
just
want me
the
to
men.
look it up?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
It's basically just
especially
the
by-
men who are having less sex. Women are having tons of sex with
Most
the
of the
same
women
5
I
men.
know are like nuns.
Huh?
Most of the women I know are like nuns.
Well, that's nice, I guess. But the case of the matter is, or the fact of the matter is that they're promiscuous. There's a lot of promiscuity. It's led to a huge increase in STIs. Not just that, but that's where all the unwanted pregnancies come from anyway, and why you have all these abortions. And the same reason that you see them decrease exponentially and unwanted pregnancies decrease exponentially after abortion's outlawed is for the same reason. If we got rid of birth control, you would see unwanted pregnancies decrease rapidly because people wouldn't be fucking if they thought it was going to lead to a kid. You might see herpes increase, though. Mouth herpes.
Yeah. Probably
Mouth herpes increases a bit, but
And stuff in the butt.
still better than the alternative. So the thing is like, I don't see how that's liberating society or helping society at all. Well, you know, what you're advocating for. It seems to me like we're back to the limit debate. Is it the case that we can limit behaviors in society for the good of society, just like you did with COVID? I think we can, and I think it's fine.
I don't think that limiting benefits society.
So they don't like to read the under a certain price because they have too many coming in. But Pasty George is pretty based, and I like to point out things that are good. So, fact, there are thousands of women in their late 30s and early 40s, a lot of them feminists, who are trying to get pregnant and who are also freezing their eggs, which turn out to be unviable due to their age. Crying when it's too late. Again, that biological need kicking in and going, oh crap, I need to get on it. And it's too late. So us men, the patriarchy, are here to look out for that idea and start to say, no, you've had your fun. It's time to get back to reality.
I mean, how does it not? It seems to significantly benefit society. We have less. That's great, right? The whole point of abortion, you want to get rid of unwanted pregnancies. Mm-hmm. We're giving you a way to have unwanted pregnancies go away.
Through morals and ethics. Restrictions through morals and ethics. If you have to take accountability, you start to think twice about doing something. Why laws are invented in the first place, isn't it?
Right. And they do go away. The unwanted pregnancies drastically decrease. So it's like, what?
I mean, people are still going to get pregnant, though, because people are still going to have
yeah, but I mean,
sex.
we can't. Here's the thing, though, right? It's like, we're not going to be able. It's like murder. Like, people are still.
And again, underneath the threshold for them to read it. But in most cases, some smortions is just an excuse to unalive the innocent, to regain your personal freedom. Imagine if a man unalived his wife because he wanted to regain his personal freedom. That's a redonkulous take, right? Almost shouldn't even be presented.
You know, like, there's nothing. There's still going to be people who do the thing, but for the overwhelming majority of people, they don't.
You see something that is innately bad, while I see it as something innately good.
Innately? Innately. So it's like breathing to unalive life, to take away the capacity to grow. That is life. Again, regardless of whether it's one cell dividing into multiple, if it's a full-blown item, you get fined for destruction of an eagle egg, a bald eagle egg, because it is an endangered species. We're under a replacement rate. When are we going to be endangered species labeled?
Because again,
it's good in and of itself?
I mean,
so
maybe you should think about what you say before you say it. Because innately, yeah, that means in and of itself, it is good to do. It is like breathing. It is like eating. Those are innate goods that keep you alive. Giving of yourself to others, that's an innate good. Wow.
Means.
Should a woman get pregnant just to go have?
No, that's crazy.
All right, again.
Then it wouldn't be innate. If it's good to have it, just to have it, that's innate. If it's not good to just have it, it's not innate. It's not an innate good. It never had been an innate good.
But is it bad?
To get pregnant just to
go have an abortion?
I think it's weird.
Is it bad?
I would question that person's
But is
sanity.
it bad?
Is it bad? I mean, probably. It's a drain on resources.
That's it?
That could go to other people.
They pay for it.
Well, yeah, but it's a waste of everyone's time.
How? Everyone's getting paid.
Everyone's getting, but then, women who are...
Like, what? How could that possibly be a worse waste of resources than, I had a gangbang last night and got knocked up with this? How's that not even just as much of a waste of resources as a chick who's like, well, I'm just going to go and have sex in order to get pregnant to go have them for fun? Like, how is one more of a drain on resources than the other?
I don't know. I don't have a rebuttal to that. Because it's the whole concept of allowing smortions to be government funded is literally a waste of resources because you chose to get into that position. If you didn't choose to get into that position, then there's some leeway. Like he mentioned earlier, you can negotiate that. But the idea that you can just have it whenever you want to, again, like he says, what's the difference between that and going and having a gang and going, oh, no, I did this, and so I've got to go.
Because one of them is crazy. I don't know. This is
They're both crazy.
Have you heard of women intentionally getting pregnant to have an abortion? Because I don't know if you know
no,
this.
I don't. But that's not the point of the question.
If you think it's weird, how is that different from bad? If you think it's not good, I don't know. What's the difference?
Determine if
It's
there's
like breaking your leg to go to the doctor.
Yeah,
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why are we arguing against ourselves again? Because, yeah, the act of going out and doing something that you know you're going to have to go to the doctor to get removed. So, how is that? You literally just argued against yourself by pulling that talking point.
That's an insane
That's
person.
great, but
Yeah.
the point of the question is, like you said, that they're just inherently good. And it's like, if that's the case, then if a woman just got pregnant to go have one, she's doing something good.
No, that's
Then
not what I mean.
then they're
What
not
I mean is,
inherently
like,
good.
What they provide for women.
No, you just
in the sense that it provides our
you just mean the outcomes are good.
yes, the outcomes are positive, sure.
How is the outcomes good? Because you get your personal freedom. How is that good? You've just lost your soul. How is that good?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
the outcome is
but
that
which
women
but which
are-
ones? Which positive? Because if I can give you more positive outcomes for what you want, which is less kids who are being born that parents don't want, it seems like I provide that society better than you do with abortion. So, like, what outcomes here? What outcomes? Or
Yeah, by literally allowing you the loophole to get away with whatever you want to get away with, you're in essence exacerbating the issue, giving it roots to grow. By cutting it off at the bud, nip it in the bud, as they say, you cut it off at the sproutling, it doesn't grow anymore. You don't allow them the ability to loophole through that, and they're going to have to take accountability. At which time you're going to second think about what you do. I would be more than happy to take on the responsibility, the accountability, if that were to have ever happened in my history.
better from your view that you're providing that I'm not.
Well, again, when I talked about the abortion statistics, abortions did go up in surrounding states. So
That's
again,
because
it
they were
doesn't
legal there.
necessarily-
Come on.
Well, yes, but what I mean is that the people who were
on.
having abortions in those states left to rather than get them in the state where it's illegal.
No, they didn't.
They got more abortions.
So only some did, and they still ended up going down, right?
No, abortion rates went up, I believe.
Where only temporarily, and then dropped.
No, birth rates went up temporarily and then dropped.
Yes, birth
Yeah.
rates. Yes.
Yeah.
So unwanted births.
But in the surrounding states,
Yeah, they go up.
did go up.
Yeah, but they don't go up by the same amount as the predicted in the state would have been. So, like, let's say the state had 50 abortions a day. You don't see the state next to it now increase by that same 50. You might see an increase by like 20 or 15 a day. You know what I mean? That's more realistic to what it is. So it does reduce abortion and it reduces unwanted pregnancy. And the whole idea of abortion, from your view, is getting rid of the unwanted pregnancy, I thought. That's the point. So if we have a way in which we can have, it sounds like you just basically are like, I just want people to be able to. That's what it sounds like you.
I mean, I think it comes from a place of understanding that people will.
But they.
That right there. Debate ended. You literally just broke down your whole argument. Want.
They don't, though. They don't seem to. It seems like if.
Again, we're referring to a nationwide. I think that's what he's getting at, is nationwide, which means you couldn't just flee to other states. You would have to take a minute, stop, think about what you're doing, think about the repercussions for it, think about the accountability that you will be forced to take if you can't take that loophole. If the morning after pill is gone, because that's a form of smortion, if the smortions are gone, if all of that is gone and you don't have the ability to unalive the living item, because again, at conception, when the sperm meets the egg, there's a spark. There's literal light that has been recorded. I could be a potato. I don't know. But this is what I've heard. I don't remember. Right? But that's what science tells us. Regardless, as soon as that happens, there is a generation of replication. That generation, that replication, that is life. Regardless of where you are, on Mars, if there's an amoeba, it's life. And we hold to it and we love it. Oh my gosh, there's life on Mars. But yet when there's a living being inside of someone, that is not the same. That's not given the same rights. But I thought that rights are inherent. I thought that we can't have them taken away by force and this and that and the other. But you're literally acting as if you can take it away by force. Isn't that what smortions are? Again, if it was nationwide, they wouldn't have anywhere to flee. So the unwanted births that he's referring to would come down because you wouldn't have that option to go outside of the state. Yeah. But that's just, like he's just saying, it's not like it's water. It's not like it's breath. You don't have to have it. If you are going to get repercussions, it's like, again, going back to the idea of shoplifting. You aren't being forced to shoplift. Even if you're so hard up for food that you have to steal, you're still stealing. It's still an illegal action. Doesn't matter if you have to have it or not. So what's the difference? Because it's not like actual sustenance. You don't have to have intimacy. We want it. And yeah, I'm not saying that we don't want it. And some of us choose not to get it because of the ridiculousness of these days. It's not going to be sexless. It's not going to be without intimacy. There's still going to be the legal people, the ones that have gone through the due diligence, gotten married, gotten that stability, that loyalty. It doesn't even have to be marriage. I don't know what he's trying to propose as far as the repercussions if you don't go through with it. But it doesn't change the fact that people are still going to want to have kids, want to continue that bloodline, continue on their heritage, and have those offspring legally, whether that be through marriage. I don't know what he's proposing here. All he's saying is that to get rid of the loophole of the smortions so that you can't just go through with that, which means you have to think about what you're doing. It's not going to stop people from having it. It's just going to make them think about what they're doing. Be more careful. Be more diligent in making sure that the condom doesn't break. Whatever. I don't know. The pull out, stop it. Stop it. You're smarter than that. Use some sort of form of birth control. Come on. And if you can't do it, then just don't. And get to that point of loyalty before you try to go through with it.
There's still plenty of people who are married and and having children at the right times. But I kind of do think.
About, like,
but wait,
men,
yes,
though?
actually, yes. Do I want a nation in which promiscuous sex is gone? Yeah, kind of. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Get back to morals, get back to loyalty, get away from the idea of the loopholes, get away from the idea that you can have multiple partners, get away from the idea that you have to go find that perfect person through the intimacy. Get back to understanding yourself, what you want, so that you can understand how to give them what they're looking for. Self-respect. Bring back self-respect.
what? Can you tell me what's great about it? Tons of STIs everywhere. The STI rate increases.
Like I'd shown you guys, I mean, I wasn't able to pull up, like, you know, the more egregious STIs. They do seem to have been decreasing a little bit. But as you see from the graph, there's an increase in random STIs. STI is an STI. It doesn't matter how extreme it is. It's still caused by sexual intercourse.
Right. The fact of the matter is that you have women who have been, screwed by 20 or 30 men, and men who have screwed 20 or 30 women. That doesn't seem like it's very good for the moral fabric of your society or for your society at all. And so it's like, if we can get rid of the thing you want, which is the unwanted pregnancy, and it seems like the unwanted pregnancies decrease when you get rid of abortion anyway. It sounds like it's like a big winner here.
So we have like an.
All right. So before she goes into her stupid little tirade here, I'm going to cut it off, because honestly, you can see the way she put that, ticked that drink, set that pen down, and the way she's sitting right now, she's lost. You can see it. She can see it. She has nothing to come back with. So now she starts with the personal attacks. We'll get into that on a later date. Because this feminist, she deserves a lot of negative press, because she shouldn't have ever come on to this debate thinking that she was actually had a chance. I don't know if she did think she had a chance, or if she just came to try to smear the whatever and Andrew. Anyway, what do you guys think? Please like, subscribe, share, drop your comments in the section below. Let's have a discussion. Do we like the promiscuity? Because I, for one, don't. So please, feel free to change my mind. I'm going to be having debates. I'm open to talking with people and understanding the points of view before I start debating. So please share your points of view in the comment section below. I don't agree with the promiscuity, either men or women. We need to have accountability again. Men going out and having multiple harlots under them is not good for society. And the same in turn for women. The idea that we have these increasing STIs and things like that can't possibly be beneficial to society. Especially the ones that last for the rest of your life. If you're going to be passing them on to future relationships because things don't ever work out anymore. What is it? 50% of marriages ended in divorce, and 70% of those divorces are initiated by the female. Now, we can go into the statistics of that on a later date, but it doesn't change the fact that 70% are initially filed by the female. So if they're the ones who hold the initial key for intimacy, and they're the ones who are initially pulling that key out and locking that door, who has the control here? The only time that I see the control is when the man buys the house that the key goes to. He gets that control. And then once that purchase has been made, she has control over it. We need to get back to partnerships. And when I say partnerships, I mean the man is the head of the household and is the breadwinner. The female is the one that takes care of the children, builds the home from within, and allows the man the ability to provide, protect, and control the household. It is what it is. We need to get back to the idea of a solid home with mother and father, like I've mentioned in previous videos. And as for now, I'll go ahead and leave you with that. Please, again, like, subscribe, share. Let's get some conversations going. I really want to figure out why we think that promiscuity is a good thing. For now, please take care of yourselves out there. Remember your Second Amendment rights within the United States. Your response time will always be faster than that of the police. It is better to be tried by 12 of your peers than carried by 6. As I've stated multiple times, stay strapped, stay around. Take care of yourselves and your neighbors. You never know what they're going through. Be kind. Always. Outside of the United States, remember your rights and please try not to give up any more of them. It does have an impact on America as well. Take care of yourselves out there. And for now, the Potato signing off.